हेलो एसएचएस, हेलो ऑल। जैसा कि आप सभी जानते हैं, सुबह से केस पोस्ट हुआ है डॉक्टर श्रावंती मैम का। ये जनरली इनके बारे में कहा जाए तो वर्ड्स कम है, क्योंकि ये एक सिस्टम नहीं जानती है। ये प्रेडिक्टिव जानती है, ये माइंड मेथड जानती है, सेंसेशन जानती है, पीएम जानती है। ये स्विट्जरलैंड में रहती है। इनके बहुत से पेशेंट है, यूके में इनके पेशेंट है, जर्मनी में पेशेंट है। ऑनलाइन भी पेशेंट देखती है और मेडिटेशन टेक्निक सिखाती है। लास्ट आपने शायद इनका 2 मंथ बिफोर एक केस देखा होगा एड्स का। एचएसएस के यूट्यूब चैनल पे भी है, रेफरेंस में आप बाद में भी सुन सकते हैं। तो मैं एचएसएस की तरफ से, अशोक अवधिया सर की तरफ से, शशिकांत शिंदे सर की तरफ से आपका शानदार इस्तकबाल करता हूँ। प्लीज वेलकम मैम, आप अपना केस शुरू कीजिए। थैंक यू।
All right. So yeah, thank you for the warm welcome, and let's go straight to this to the case. This case has run in 2 groups since yesterday, and there have been a lot of doctors that have discussed their analysis. I'll first quickly read the case, and then we can go to everybody's analysis. So, 28-year-old male patient, unmarried, educated as an engineer, living in a small village in Telangana. I was contacted by his father informing me that he was suffering with bronchitis and wants to try homeopathy. Consultation was online, mostly in Telugu, on WhatsApp video call. Doctor, how are you? Patient, I have been suffering with bronchitis for the past 5 months. It is not getting any better and the doctor is suggesting bronchodilators. I don't want to do that, so wanted to try homeopathy. Doctor, what exactly are the symptoms? Patient, breathlessness, especially at night. Every time it rains or the weather becomes dull or wet, this starts. Usually lasts all night, slowly gets better during the day. Doctor, were there any symptoms before breathlessness? Patient, yes, I was coughing on and off for 2 months before, dry cough. Doctor, has it always been dry even after 2 months? Patient, yes, but I still have cough. It is not gone away yet. Doctor, do you make any sounds when breathing becomes difficult? Patient, yes, every time I breathe out, there is a sound from my chest and throat. Father can almost hear it from the shop and knows that I'm having an attack again. His father runs a shop from their front room. It is annoying. And this throat thing is also very annoying. Doctor, throat thing. Patient, yes, it feels very hot and burning. I told this to the doctor and he checked it but said there is no infection. I can eat and drink okay, that is not a problem. Doctor, any fever during this time? If I put my hand on your throat from outside, will I feel it hot? Patient, no fever, and my mother checked and told me she doesn't feel anything. The doctor gave me some drops I need to mix with water and take when my breathing becomes worse. But it is helping for some time, but it keeps coming back. So now he is suggesting inhalers. But I heard that once you start taking inhalers, you will have to use them for life. This was a referral. Okay, doctor.
मैम सेम
Was there
स्लाइड
any?
ही दिख रही हो, आप जो पढ़ रही ना वो दिख नहीं रहा है।
Yeah, I'm just reading the case. I did not put it on the slide actually, the case, because it was
ओके ओके
posted,
ओके।
right? That's why. Okay. Was there anything changed in your environment or food habits before this problem started? Patient, no, everything the same. Only thing I can say is that the weather is affecting me now. It didn't affect me so much before. I have dust allergy, but that was since childhood, nothing new. It is not very severe, only cold and sneezing and settles down after a few days. Doctor, okay, anything else? Patient, no, nothing else. I'm usually a healthy person. Doctor, okay, please describe this breathlessness in more detail. Patient, it comes at night when I go to bed. It feels like a heavy weight is placed on my chest. I can't breathe. I get very, and here he used a Telugu word that I didn't understand. So I asked him to describe what that means, and from the answer he gave, I think it means restlessness. Okay, meaning, and patient says, I feel heavy and breathlessness in my chest and turn to one side. It helps very briefly, but then same again. So I turn to the other side, but same again. I finally give up and get up and try to distract myself by watching TV. Doctor, does that help? Patient, not really, but I can't sleep and I'm very restless. What else can I do? All I want is air. That's not coming. Doctor, why is the air not coming, do you think? Patient, because the pipes that bring in air are narrow. Hand gesture, both hands coming close together in front of the chest. This is the problem, air can't enter. Doctor, narrow? Patient, yeah, enough air cannot pass. Same hand gesture. Doctor, close your eyes, do this hand gesture continuously and tell me what comes to your mind first. Don't think, just say whatever comes to your mind. Patient, something that is wide but is getting, he used another word to describe, to mean narrow. This is happening again and again. Doctor, why so? Patient, something continuously gets accumulated at the walls there. Doctor, what could it be? Patient, like mucus? Sorry, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Laughing. Doctor, laughing. You're doing very good. Okay, tell me what's going on in your life. Now that your studies are completed, there must be pressure to get married. Patient, laughing politely. Yes, we started looking for girls last year, but nothing is moving forward. See how casually the patient drops the non-human word, right? Okay. Doctor, why? What's the problem? Patient, girls nowadays all want to live in big cities and have, sorry. Girls nowadays want to live in big cities and have careers. But my situation is that my parents are here and they can't move to city. They spent all their lives here. They are happy here and I don't want to leave them alone. I'm the only son. I need to take care of them. Doctor, what are your parents saying? Patient, see, my father has a shop here since 23 years. He knows everyone here by name and same with everyone else. This is what happens in a village. If anything is needed, all village comes to help. Even if I'm not around for some reason, there is a lot of support here. Will he find this in a city? I studied in a city. I know nobody bothers there about anybody. They don't even know their own neighbors, what they do, or even their names. I know that my father will not be happy to leave this place. He says he's okay with it, but I know he will do it only for my marriage. I don't want to put my parents through this at this late age. But girls don't care about this. Everyone is stuck in the same mentality. Myself, my career, my life, my. They don't understand the concept of responsibilities towards elders. So that was the end of the case. Just a sec. Okay. So like I said, this case has run in two different groups since yesterday, and there have been a lot of analysis that have been suggested by a lot of doctors. There have been quite a few themes identified, and the rubrics that were suggested were, some of them were metaphoric, some of them were on mind level, some on generals, and some on physicals. There seems to be some confusion that is going on between the delusion level and fact level, which we will get to. Now, the remedy suggestions were, firstly, there was Kali carb because of the fixed principles and responsibility. Calcarea carb that came out of repertorization. And there was a suggestion for sulfur and spongia, arsenic, alp, natrimur, zincum, pulsatilla, lycopodium, sepia. Yes, and then in the sensation group, there was a discussion. Doctor thought that this was a mineral kingdom carbon series, and someone thought this is Cat-AC with constriction and expansion sensation. Someone thought that this was a natrum compound. Someone thought that this was anacardiaceae, rosaceae, and someone thought this was cruciferae, and they suggested Sinapis nigra or Sinapis alba. They were not sure about the miasm. Now, then there was again someone who thought it was mineral kingdom second row with carbo-veg or carbo-animalis. There was identified a theme of group versus me, me, village, that kind of thing, and they contemplated a mammal. Then there was someone who thought it was a plant and could be Delinidae. And then they moved to mineral. There was a confusion between plant and mineral. And someone thought that this could be second row Silesia. And someone thought that this is a security of father issue, so there must be carbon involved. And someone thought it was row 4, column 1. So this is all the notes I made. I am not going to read out all the rubrics. First, I thought I would do that, but then there were a lot of them that were suggested. Dr. Hussain, is there anything do you think I missed? Okay, perfect. So yes, so that was all your analysis so far. Is there anyone who would like to now, maybe someone is joining new now and would like to share their analysis now, which is not covered by all the other doctors or everything that I told now? Anybody would like to share anything new? Okay, it looks like there is nothing new. All right, then maybe it is time for me to share my analysis and how I approached this case. Okay, firstly, let me tell you that this is a solved case. Okay, so that there is no doubt that the remedy that was given was the right remedy because it also acted very, very fastly and there was no recurrence. So keeping that in mind, let us start with the case. Okay, now with any case, my approach will always start with 7 levels of experience. And these 7 levels of experience, actually the names of all these 7 levels, I have taken directly from Dr. Shankaran's theories. And these 7 levels by the name are 1 is name, 2 fact, 3 emotion, 4 delusion, 5 sensation, 6 energy, and 7th doesn't have a name. Now, to give a quick summary of those who are new to this concept, these 7 levels of experience are basically what everybody experiences everything in a combination of these 7 levels. It is like a beam of white light. So just imagine a beam of white light, right? We see white light in front of us, but when you put it through a prism, then there is a split of seven colors that is visible to a human eye, right? So if we see a combination, but then inside there is a split. If we want to split out, this is possible, and that is what we are doing here. Okay, now why is this important to us as a physician when this is happening to every person? To us as a physician, why is this important? Is because we homeopaths base our methodologies, our approach to any case, our principle is like cures like. And this likeness that we try to find could be on any level, any of these levels, or more than one of these levels. And many of our masters, our stalwarts, had done this. They have based their analysis with an emphasis on one or more of these levels. So this is all something that I have named here. Now, I had presented another case which was on AIDS virus nosode, where I explained this in certain detail. So if you want to understand this any further, you can watch that. It is on YouTube as well. But today, let's move on because this was already explained. Let's move on to the next step. Okay? All right. So now this bit, let us assume that it is understood, the 7 levels of experience, and that we as physicians use this for treating or approaching the cases or finding the likeness. Okay. Now, it is curious, isn't it, that something that, for example, a doctor is finding the likeness on name level and producing some really brilliant cures. We have seen that, for example, Dr. Burnett, he showed to the world some really beautiful cures. And then a doctor is working on, for example, let's say mind method, Dr. Segal. He worked exclusively on finding the likeness on mind level, but still again, brilliant cures. And then it happens on every level with every method, like, nothing can be said about Dr. Hahnemann, right? Who had an emphasis on fact level, right? And then again, we know Dr. Jan Scholten, who does it on thematic and periodic system, again, brilliant cures, which is based again, starting with sensation level. So it is kind of curious, isn't it, how this happens, why this happens? So should we take some time to discuss why this may happen before we move on to the case, or shall we go straight to the case? Anybody? Am I alone? Am I talking to myself? Is someone there? Hello?
मैडम आवाज आ रही है.
Okay. So what shall we do? Shall we go straight to the case, or shall we discuss a little why it seems like all these methods are working?
थोड़ा सा
डिस्कस
रिपीट कर दो.
कीजिए.
रिपीट थोड़ा सा रिवाइज हो जाएगा. लास्ट टाइम की तरह थोड़ा सा रिवाइज कीजिए.
It is not going to be completely a revision of last time, but this is going to be an introduction of a concept. Is that okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Nobody objects to it? Shall we do some philosophy?
Yes, please.
Okay. Then I will do it. Let's discuss this on two conditions. Okay. Condition 1 is that nobody forgets the case, because we will get back to it. Okay. Do you agree?
यस मैम.
Agree.
Okay. Now, agreed. Good. Now, condition 2 is that there will be some kind of interaction. Okay. I need some kind of feedback, some kind of yes, no, you're awesome, you're fantastic, anything works. But I need to know that I did not put you all in some kind of narcoleptic coma. So some kind of interaction. Okay. Agreed?
यस मैम.
Agreed, not agreed.
Yes, something, right? So that I know. Okay, so both conditions are going to be met. It looks like the second
Britannia
condition is not.
50-50. Like Britannia 50-50.
50-50 से नहीं चलेगा. दोनों ओके है तभी चलेंगे.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay then. Okay, perfect. I hear some voices. Okay, perfect. All right, so then let's do it. Okay. All right. Now, let's say, imagine I am not a person that you know. I am a complete stranger. I'm not even, you don't know if I am a homeopath. You don't even know if I'm a homeophile or a homeophobe. You don't know anything about me. But I'm standing in front of the whole world and in front of all you good doctors and say, homeopathic remedies do not cure. Will you all agree with me?
जी मैम.
क्या बोले आप?
Homeopathic remedies will not cure.
Do not cure. Yeah, homeopathic remedies do not cure.
So no, no.
We don't agree.
Don't agree. Okay, let me say, is there anyone who do not disagree with this? Everyone disagrees with this? Are you all busy sending me e-slaps? Someone? So nobody disagrees with this? Okay, all right, that's very kind of you. But let's say, even if you are, please hold off your fire. I have not finished my sentence, okay? What I mean to say is that homeopathic remedies do not cure, vital force does. Now, do you agree with me?
Ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now everybody agrees. Is there anyone who does not agree with this now?
But ma'am, when you give the remedy, then only the vital force will act, na? It won't act on its own.
Yeah. Let us
the
get
remedy
to
is
that.
administered.
Yeah, let us get to that. We will get to that eventually. That is a really good point. But eventually, what is curing is vital force. Can we say that?
ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
We can see.
Okay. So now coming back to your point, if it is vital force that is curing, then are homeopathic remedies redundant?
No.
No. Right? So can I say that vital force is what is establishing the cure and homeopathic remedies help vital force in doing that? Can I say that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So in other words, can I say that the star of the show is vital force and homeopathic remedies are supporting actors?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Can I say that? It is actually very humbling, but it is true.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Now, the thing is, one bad habit of homeopaths is that we make ourselves very interested in the concept of cure. Every time anybody says cure, we stand up alert because we want to know about this. It is very important. Dr. Hahnemann in his first aphorism said that this is our only mission even to cure, right? So for us, this is very important to understand what this is. Now that we agreed that it is vital force that establishes cure, shall we then take a little time to understand this evasive and elusive vital force a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Now we all know that the concept of vital force has existed throughout the ages and across the globe. It has been recognized by many cultures, many, geographically everywhere. It has been recognized by several people everywhere. Now, but because it has been recognized in different places, obviously the name given by the same concept varies because it depends on the language that is spoken in the area, it depends on the cultural background, everywhere. But really, the concept of vital force is not old. Even Hippocrates recognized this concept of vital force. Okay, he called it vis medicatrix naturae. Okay, and then later, when Dr. Hahnemann gave this in his Organon der Heilkunst, the way it was translated to English, it was called vital force and vital principle. And then in our yoga and Ayurveda concepts, we call it prana. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is called qi. In Japanese medicine, it is called ki. And to be honest, we'll be surprised how extensive this list goes. This is actually a very long list. I was surprised to see how much this has been recognized all across the globe. Okay? All right. Now, Dr. Hahnemann first talked about vital force in his aphorism 9. We all memorized this aphorism like there is no tomorrow, right? In our first year, this was the main viva question in our OP test. So yeah, we all know that is where first vital force made its appearance in Organon der Heilkunst. Now he continued talking about it until aphorism 17. Of course, he talked about it again at a later point, but as a first chunk, he explained it between aphorisms 9 and 17. Okay, what did he call it? He actually called it spirit-like or
Hello.
immaterial power. Hello.
जी स्क्रीन पे कुछ दिख नहीं रहा मैम, आपने कुछ शेयर किया है क्या?
जी, okay, that's interesting because I am continuing to share.
सभी को ऐसा हो रहा है कि क्या मुझे ऐसा हो रहा है?
दिख रहा है.
Because here
स्क्रीन
when I'm trying to
स्क्रीन पे
reshare,
कुछ
it
दिख
is
रहा है?
saying
दिखाओ.
नहीं दिखता है सर.
नहीं दिख रहा, किसी को नहीं दिख रहा.
Like your
okay. What I
नहीं
will
दिख
do
रहा
is
है.
I will stop sharing and restart. Right, I will stop and restart. Now, can you see it?
No.
Yes,
जी
दिख रहा है.
मैम दिख रहा है.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Now visible.
So,
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so Dr. Hahnemann described this vital force as spirit-like or immaterial power, right? Then, but not much was discussed about this, at least not in a straightforward terms. Then hello?
कंटिन्यू मैं देख लूंगा कंटिन्यू
Okay. Then what happened was that Dr. Boenninghausen took what Dr. Hahnemann said and tried to explain it in his lesser writings as indivisible essence of unified nature. Okay, this is how he described vital force. This is how he said Hahnemann meant what he said in his aphorisms, in his organon. Okay. And then Dr. Kent further described this as simple substance. Now we all know we are more used to calling it or understanding it as simple substance because Dr. Kent, we read usually the lectures on philosophy by Dr. Kent extensively, right? Okay, so far with me, everyone with me so far?
Yes.
Ma'am. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, do you agree with me if I say the concept of vital force is not easy to understand?
Yes.
Will you
Yes.
agree?
Still not understood.
Yeah.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah, it is not easy to understand, right? I mean, vital force is actually vitally central to our whole philosophy and our whole everything, the analysis, logic, everything. But unfortunately, it is not that easy to understand the concept of vital force. But the thing is that our masters have given these clues to us how to explain or how to understand this. So let's take what Dr. Kent said, the most popular and accepted explanation of vital force of simple substance. Now, the thing is, vital force is not the only example of simple substance in nature. There are many other simple substances in nature which can be grasped and understood a little more easier. Okay? So shall we do it this way? Shall we first understand what simple substance actually mean and what its properties are, and then come back to vital force and see if we can apply those characteristics to vital force and see what comes out?
Yes, ma'am.
जी मैम सही है चलेगा
Okay, perfect. So then, all right. So then, Mr. Vital Force, please pull up a nice cozy chair and take a nap. We will come back to you after we understand simple substance. All right. Okay. Then what is a simple substance? All right. Now, simple substance is basically the smallest part of anything that retains the properties of that item. Okay, now I will explain again. I will repeat it. Let me take some examples to do it. Okay. First, let me take helium gas. Now, let's say there is a barrel full of helium gas. Now, the simplest or the smallest part of helium gas is one atom of helium. This is the simple substance in helium. Okay. Now, we all know helium is made up of of course, everything is made of one nucleus. So, one nucleus in which there are two neutrons and two protons, and there is one orbit which are used by two electrons to orbit around. Okay. Now, what did I say? I just told you that this is the smallest part of helium gas, but then I again told you what are the components of the smallest part. I just at least gave you 3 smaller parts than helium. Now, how is that? Then how does it make sense? See, the understanding of this is helium atom or one atom of helium is the smallest part of helium which retains all its properties. So, for example, under some good pressure and temperature conditions, I may be able to separate out an electron or two from helium atom. Okay, it's not easy, but it is possible. But if I do that, will the resultant be helium? if I remove electrons, 1 or 2 electrons from a helium atom, will the resultant be helium?
No, ma'am.
No, right? It has lost its properties. It is no more helium, right? So basically what that means is for this to have the properties, all these parts that I mentioned before, the electrons, the protons, the neutrons, the one orbit, the nucleus, everything should work as a unit. If something changes, then it is not retaining its properties anymore. It is not helium anymore. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Then let's take another example. Now in a barrel full of water, okay, I have 1 gallon of water. In that, the simplest or the smallest part is 1 molecule of water. Okay, now all you Puritan chemists, don't come behind me. I know, I understand the simple substance and water, but try to understand what I'm trying to say here. Now, 1 molecule of water is composed of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. They are bonded together covalently at an angle that results in slight polarity. All this agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now again, just now I gave so many things that are constituents of 1 molecule of water. Okay. Then how is it the smallest part? Of course, it is much more easier even for me to remove a hydrogen or 2 hydrogen atoms from this, or even under good pressure and temperature conditions, I could even actually add another atom of hydrogen here, right? But then the problem is, if I do that, if I infuse this 1 molecule of water with another hydrogen atom or another oxygen atom, let's say, if it's possible, that is not going to retain water properties anymore, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now forget another atom of hydrogen or oxygen. This angle at which they are bonded is 105 degrees. Even if I change this angle to 1 degree, let's make it 106 degrees, even then it will not retain its properties because the polarity will change because of this. And a lot of properties of water are coming because of its polarity. Right? Agreed?
Yes, ma'am.
Agreed. Okay. So what does that mean? So regardless of the components, all these 1 oxygen atom, 2 hydrogen atoms bonded together covalently at 105 degrees, everything is acting as a single unit. It is almost like unified function to give water. Okay, with me? So far, no
Ma'am.
confusion?
नया नया भारी लगेगा, आप बोलते जाइए.
Am I speaking too fast? I think I started off a bit fast because I was conscious of the time.
ना चलेगा.
Okay, all right. All right, so then let's take it up a notch. Okay, do you recognize this picture?
Auto rickshaw meter.
Yes. So this is like, I grew up in Hyderabad in Telangana, okay, now Telangana. And back when I was growing up, if we needed to hire any transport, this was the best way, easiest way is to hail an auto rickshaw. And auto rickshaw, because the distance is very indeterminate, right? Any customer could be like, they could go travel 1 kilometer, they could travel 2 kilometers. It is indeterminate. So in order to calculate how much is it that we need to pay the driver at the end of the travel, every auto rickshaw was fitted with this meter. I mean, it is more or less the same concept with electricity meter, right? Do you also have similar concept in your places?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, you are able to identify this, right? This concept. All right. Now, can anybody explain to me how exactly this meter works?
It's a distance and the time.
Time?
Distance and a time. Both. Well,
Okay. See, the way I understand is that this is distance. Can you see my screen still? You see this arrow?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So let's say this is, I need to travel from point A to point B. Okay. Now what happens is that every 100 meters, let's say for example, every specified distance, let's take 100 meters for ease. For every 100 meters, there is an increase in the charge by some amount of money. It used to be 20 pies. Let's say it is something like 20 pies increase for every 100 meters of distance traveled. Right? With me, is this simple?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now let's say that by this place, I traveled to this line. And my charge was 3 rupees. Okay. Now, luckily, my home was at a distance of 90 meters from here. Now, will the meter charge me 20 pies for this?
No.
No, because the rule is it is 20 pies for every 100 meters. Okay, I could travel even 99 meters, but it would still mean nothing. It would not charge me anything there. I could have traveled 1 meter, I could have traveled 99.9 meters. It will not charge me anything. Okay, as soon as we reach 100 meters distance, it will increase by 20 pies. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so what does this mean? This means that it is either all there or it is not there at all. So, but it is not saying something like, okay, she had traveled 99 meters, so let's make it 99% of 20 pies. It doesn't work like that. It is either all 20 pies or no 20 pies. So there is no percentage, no decimal calculation, no prorating, no ratios. It is binary. It is either there all or none. You with me?
Yes.
Okay, so far clear? So this 20 pies per 100 meters is working as a unit. Nothing within it can be changed. Agreed? Agreed?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
Sometimes,
All right.
I mean, in a normal scenario, I think it starts with certain amount and then obviously, but we are just trying to understand this analogy.
Yes, exactly. I know there is a minimum amount because that is only fair. But here I'm only trying to help you understand what a simple substance means. So just this concept of incrementing 20 pies for every 100 meter, which is a unit. It is working as a unit. The properties are unified. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now let's take an example of something very, very serious. Okay, so be alert. I'm talking about that all important game and sport of cricket. Okay. Now, one of my non-Indian friend calls this the national game of India or the national religion of India. And with very good reason, and I agree always to him with pride. because we take our cricket very seriously. We initiate our children when they are babies into this game or into this sport. Okay, forget teaching them how to wear underwear, but when we see them running behind the plastic ball with their plastic bat, it fills our heart with pride and joy. Is that right?
Okay.
Do you agree or not?
Agree.
Agree. Okay. Because I was like, okay, did they agree with my friend wrongly? Okay. Now in cricket, there is this concept of century. Do you know this?
Yes.
Okay. Can anybody explain to me what this concept of century is?
It's only when you are at the 100 runs. If it's 99 runs, it's not called century. It has to be 100 runs.
Yes. Brilliant. Exactly. So basically what it means is that every time a batsman makes 100 runs, his account is debited with 1 century. Right? The rule is 100 runs per 1 or 1 century per 100 runs. Right? Now do we recognize this guy?
Ma'am.
A legend.
Yeah, this is our iconic Sachin Tendulkar. Now Sachin Tendulkar is known to carry a jinx on his head when it comes to centuries. Can anybody explain what this is?
What
Come
was the
on, it's
question?
very
Sorry.
famous. Sorry?
Centuries.
What was the question? Sorry.
90s nervousness.
Yes. Poor guy, he used to, many times what used to happen is that he would be bowled out somewhere in his 90s. Sometimes even 99 he used to be bowled out. And every time that happened, our heart used to go to him, because why? Because one more run and he would have gotten another century in his account, right? But because he is a really good player, no one is saying, okay, let us give him 99% of a century in this match. And then next match, when there is 1 run he makes, let us make it 1 whole century. Do we say that?
Oh, ma'am, never.
Never. We cry for him, but we never say, okay, that's not an option, right? Because the whole thing, the rule is 1 century for 100. So Sachin could have been duck out on, like he could have been out on 0 runs, or he could have been out on 99 runs. His account is 0. He makes 1 more run, makes it 100. His account is 1. So it is either 0 or 1. There is no percentage again. There is no decimal calculation. There is no ratios. There is no prorating. Right? It is either 0 or 1. It is all or none. It is binary. You
Yes,
with me?
ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So then so far understood? Understood all so far all the properties?
Yes, ma'am.
We will have a recap. All right. But let's get to the next thing, next concept. Okay. What happened one fine day is that I was playing out in the sun for 3 hours, and all I could think of was to drink water. I was very thirsty. Okay. So then I run home, I grab a glass, then go to my water dispenser. And then I turn it very narrowly so it dispenses for me 1 molecule of water. Okay? Now this 1 molecule of water is not going to cut it out for me. I'm very thirsty. I made 3 centuries today, and this 1 molecule is not going to quench my thirst. Now, what am I going to do? Will I take this 1 molecule to a chemist and say, dear chemist, I am very thirsty and I have this 1 molecule. Can you infuse this with 1 billion more hydrogen molecules and 500 million more oxygen molecules so I can drink more water? Do I say that? Can I do that?
No, ma'am.
Ma'am.
No, right? That would be very silly. What I simply do is I turn the tap a little more and fill my water. Right? That is a simple solution. Okay, I need more molecules of water. I don't need parts of that molecule infused to one molecule, right?
Yes,
With me? Okay. Now next is, I'm trying to study something. I want to read something. So I go to my room and my room is fitted with one of these switches. Do you recognize this switch? This is a kind of a light switch.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a dimmer switch, right? So you can actually
Yes.
increase and reduce the brightness by turning the knob around. Now I don't learn my lesson that quickly. So what I do is I turn it around very narrowly and one tiny meager ray of light escapes the bulb. So I have only one ray of light. Now I'm like, dude, I'm trying to read sulfur from tent. One ray of light is not going to cut it, right? Now we like then now collect this one ray of light, go to a physicist and say, please infuse this one ray with more photons so that I have more brightness. Do I say that?
No.
No, because one ray of light doesn't have any more space for any more photon. That's the whole point, right? Instead, I turn the knob around a little more and get my room a little more brighter. Okay? Now,
yes,
I'll go to the next example. Let's say my son, his birthday, and he likes a red balloon. He wants me to get him a helium balloon in red color. So I nicely got it. And then I took it to the cylinder, helium cylinder, and I filled it with one atom of helium. That's not going to fill it, right? What I do? Again, turn the knob a little more and then fill it. Keep filling it until it is full. With me?
Yes.
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 Right? Okay. Now what this means, now listen to me carefully. What this means is that the quality of a simple substance cannot be changed. Only the quantity can. You follow this?
Yes.
Right? We can increase it, we can decrease it in quantity, but we cannot touch the quality. As soon as we touch the quality, it is not there anymore. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right.
समझा
Then let's
मैम
fly. Okay, perfect. So then let's recap a little bit all the properties of simple substance that we have discussed so far. Firstly, it is not possible to divide any further, and now it will seem like all these points that I'm making are really different ways of looking at the same point, and it is in fact that is the truth. But just to make it simpler and easier to understand, I broke it down into points. Okay, it is not possible to divide any further. If we want to keep the properties, if we want to keep it as it is, okay, that is understood.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Next is it works as a unit. Everything in it works in unified manner. Works as a single entity. Agreed?
Yes.
It is all there or all not there. It is binary. It is 0 or 1. Agreed?
Yes.
And its quality cannot be changed. Only quantity can be changed. With me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So all these are properties of simple substance. Now that we have understood the properties of simple substance, let's try and see if we can apply this to vital force, and let's see what comes out of it. Okay, now let's try to understand it again. So vital force is something that cannot be divided any further, because if we do, it is not there anymore. Okay, it works as a unit. It is either all there or not there at all. Its quality cannot be touched. Only quantity can be. You with me?
Ma'am.
Okay. Hello?
Ma'am.
Yes. Okay. Very good. So now that we have started understanding vital force a little, keeping this understanding so far that we had, let us try to explore a little bit what happens to vital force in health and in disease. Shall we do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. So now this Dr. Hahnemann already described this in his aphorisms. What is vital force in health and what is vital force in disease? Let's start with disease because we are more interested in that. What did Dr. Hahnemann say happens to vital force, or what happens in disease in terms of vital force? What happens in disease? Vital force gets
Derails. It derails.
Derangement. Deranged.
Derangement.
deranged.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very, we all know this. It's very, very important that we know this. Now, can anybody explain what the word deranged means? Forget in the context of vital force, but just the word deranged. What does it mean?
Not
Flow
arranged.
gets disrupted. The flow gets disrupted.
Flow gets disrupted. And what does it mean to get disrupted?
Not arranged.
So the process
Okay.
process which used to happen, it doesn't happen in the same manner. And due to that, other things are interdependent, so they get affected as well.
Well-being get disturbed.
Disturbed. Very
It's
good.
entirely
Yeah.
changed, ma'am.
Sorry?
It's vital force loses its entirety that time even in disease condition.
It loses its what?
Ma'am, in disease condition, no vital force the way it was previously in a healthy condition, it completely changes its property that time.
But did we not just agree that vital force's quality cannot be touched? Can vital force be diseased? Can prana, which is pure of its purest form, can it be diseased? It's like an oxymoron, right? The two words are negating itself. Vital, diseased vital force. How can vital force be diseased? How can we touch the quality of vital force? It is simple substance.
Ma'am, unable to listen here, ma'am. Your voice is very slow.
Okay, is it better now?
चलेगा चलेगा ठीक है.
It's perfect here. It's perfect here.
Okay, perfect. All right. So see, the whole thing that we discussed so far, the concept of simple substance, how it means to apply it to vital force. The most important thing about it is that we understand that vital force's quality cannot be changed. It is pure and it will remain pure always. Okay? It cannot be changed. But then what does it mean when they say, when our master said deranged? What does it mean? What exactly happens in disease? Right? Let's explore this word deranged in terms of vital force. Now this word deranged comes from French déranger, and that means throw into disorder. Many meanings, or also many dictionaries are also give the other meaning of imbalance. Okay. Now, what does it mean? Disorder or imbalance? If there is some disorder, that means there is something in order, right? I mean, there should be a concept of order for a concept of disorder to exist. And for a concept of imbalance to exist, there should be a concept of balance, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So let's say order is health, disorder is disease. But we have now established again, we agreed that we can't touch the quality. Then what is happening? Let's explore this taking an example. Now, this is a room. This is my room. I bought this in Mumbai. And it's a very, very simple room. It doesn't even have a door. Can you visualize this? This is the top view. This is the, transfer section from the top. Can you visualize this room? There is nothing, no doors, but just two windows.
Yes.
One on the left, let's call it window A, and one on the right, let's call it window B. You can see it?
Yes.
Ma'am. Yes.
Okay. All right. Now this room, I am very, very happy with this room, because what happens is that there is a wind blowing from window A to window B. Always the same volume with the same speed. That is a constant. Okay. For simplicity's sake, let us say that there is 100 cubic meters of air that is flowing from window A to window B in 1 second. Okay. Now, like I said, I'm very lucky. And why? Because the way this room is built is that for its freshness to be 100%, exactly what is needed is 100 cubic meters of air blowing through per second. So then it's paradise, right? I need 100 meters cube and it is giving me 100 meters cube. So the supply is exactly what the demand is. Freshness is 100%. There is perfect order. With me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's say, now we will not discuss into why this happens, but let's just assume that after a few years, there materializes a small grape in this room. Okay? And then this grape then ripes and then rots. And then when it rots, the air that is blowing through is still 100% meters cube per second. There is no change to that. It is constant. Now, the freshness, because of this one grape being rotten, now becomes 90%. You with me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So the freshness reduces. Now it is not so paradise anymore. The demand is more than the supply. Okay? But it is okay. I mean, what's 10%? I can live with that 10%. It's okay. All right? Then I continue living the same way. After a few years again, then an orange materializes. It is a bigger one. It's a big orange. And again it rives and again it rots. Okay. Now the air that is going through is still 100 cubic meters per second. Now what it would need for it to be now under these circumstances 100% fresh is much more air than this to flow through. But that's not happening. So then eventually what happens? The freshness now has become to 70%. It has reduced by 30%. Okay. Now I'm starting to feel a little uneasy. Not so easy to ignore, but then don't underestimate my laziness. I decide to live with it. Okay. What's 30%? It's okay. I'll try. I'll live. Okay. Then after a few years, they say what they say, the only constant thing in this life is change. So this doesn't stay constant. So again, a change happens. After a few years, a big watermelon materializes. Okay. And this watermelon again ripes and again rots. Again, nothing else changed other than this demand. Then the freshness now has reduced to 40%. Now I really feel the disease. Okay, this is not easy even for me to ignore with all my laziness. It is not easy anymore. So then I say, okay, I need to do something about it. Now, in real life, what I'm trying to draw parallels with, it is not one thing. There are many moving parts in this. But to make it simple to understand, let's make one part of it constant. Let's say that it is not possible for me to remove this watermelon. Let's assume that it is not possible to touch that. It's not possible. It is there. It will be there. Now for me then, how to address this? How to solve this issue? Now it so happens that over the years, I have many friends that are architects. They're also engineers. It's really funny how I have so many friends of those kind. Okay. So I said, okay, what are friends for? Let me go get their counsel. So I go to my friend number 1. And he says, Sravanthi, it's a very easy solution. What shall we do? Let's make the perimeter of window A bigger. Okay, if we do that, there will be more air that is blowing through. You with me? Is that a sensible solution? Is that reasonable? Let's say, is it reasonable?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now we are in the world of information. For good or for bad, we never are happy with a single opinion. We need to have a second opinion. So then I go to my friend 2. And then he says, Sravanthi, let's leave the wall on the left alone. Let's not touch it. But instead, let's make the perimeter of window B bigger. Is this also a solution? Will this also increase the flow of air?
Yes.
Yes, that is also one solution. That will also increase the air. Now, I go to my friend 3. And then he says, no. Let's do one thing. Let's make both windows bigger. That way, for sure, there will be more wind flow. Is that a solution too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now, my 4th friend, he says, let's not do anything to window B, but instead, on the wall on left side, let's make another ventilator. Okay, is that a solution too? Will that increase the airflow
Yes.
too?
Yes.
Yes. So now, because I have choices, I'm confused. I don't have choices, it's easy to make a decision. I have choices, now I'm confused. What should I do? Which solution should I go for? Right? Now what I say is that let the room decide the method, or let the room decide the solution. And by saying this, do I mean that the room has a brain of its own and it will think about it and come back to me and say, Sravanthi, let's go with solution 3? Of course not. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that all these solutions are having a same end goal. The end goal is to increase the flow of air. And all these solutions are establishing that. Okay. But what solution is the right solution depends on the room. Whatever is the right solution for this room may not be the right solution for the next room. Okay, so there is no right solution period, only there is right solution for this room. Are you with me? Do you agree? See, let's say for one room, for this room, my left wall is not that strong. It is very weak. Now, if I poke another ventilator into it, it is going to become even more weaker and maybe the whole structure will even collapse. Is that going to be the right solution?
No.
No, right? But the next room has a very strong wall on left side. So is then poking a ventilator the right solution for that room? Yes. So this is exactly what I mean by saying let the room decide the solution. Right? It completely depends on the room, because the end goal of all these answers is the same. Every solution or every answer is trying to increase the airflow. Okay, now I'm sure that you were able to understand what parallels I'm trying to draw here with our system here. The whole thing started with trying to understand, why does it seem that all the methods are working? Why does it seem that there are cures that are being established by every single method, even though it seems it is seemingly doing very differently. It is seemingly working in a very different way. Right? Basically, all the solutions that are given here are similar to all the methods that we have in homeopathy. There is, that is basically, that is why every solution, every method, end goal of it is to increase or dislodge the vital force. And every method that we have does that. Okay, that is the reason why, given the right conditions, every method seems to be working. Okay, and now why does it do it is this. How does it do it is, again, then it is a different question. It is like, it will take us into concept of modus operandi. It will take us to the concept of miasms, but we will not discuss that today. I just wanted to discuss, why does it seem that every solution or every method works? Okay, are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, see, the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because we all know that vital force is not easy to understand, right? It is, in fact, vital force comes under an example. It is a very good example of what we call paradigm of complexity. Meaning to say, it is very, very strongly and closely connected to the body, and its workings are anything but linear. Many things happen in parallel and in coordination with each other. The trigger factor and the resultant factor sometimes are very confusing. And the emergence of it is anything but single pointed. Okay, I get that. Even Dr. Hahnemann said in his aphorism 12 that it is the real workings of vital force in disease may forever be concealed to us. And that may be true. I really believe that, especially in the state that we are in, it may never be possible for us to really understand, really grasp the 100% or the complete nature of vital force. But saying all that, given all that, my belief is that we should still try to understand nonetheless as much as possible, especially when it comes to the workings of vital force in disease and in cure. Do you agree with me? Nobody agrees with me? Hello?
Agreed, ma'am. Agreed.
1 second, ma'am.
Yeah. See, all this because when we try to understand as much as possible about the workings of vital force, then what it does is that it brings us one step closer to making our analysis and treatment logical. And what that in turn does is makes our cures replicable. And replicability has always been one of the biggest challenges that has been thrown at us homeopaths by the critics. Okay? Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's stop this here now and go to the case. It's been over an hour, so I think we should really. Shall we?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many remember the case? Or how many forgot the case? How many did I put to sleep? Putting to sleep in the US means killing someone. I hope I did not really put anybody to sleep in that sense. Everybody remembers the case?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So let me now
Yes.
share what. So let me now
मदहोश हो
share
गए होंगे
how.
लोग सुन के
Sorry, क्या हुए?
मदहोश होश उड़ जाना जिसको कहते हैं
That's very, very nice. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so now going to the case. Okay, now for every case, my step. Now I'm sharing only how I solved this case, and like I said, this is a solved case. So for every case, my approach is first, let's allocate the levels of experience. Okay, and then we have to then understand on a which level is the patient giving us symptoms of highest value. Okay, and this patient gave us the symptoms of highest value on two levels actually. He gave it on fact level and he gave it on sensation level. Okay, how did he do it? I will explain as we go. Okay, that basically means that we need to we need to enter the case through the fact and sensation level analysis and then use the other levels to see if this is supporting our initial analysis. All right, with me? With me?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So before that, let's do the pathophysiology. That is the start of the case. It doesn't matter which level, but first, before anything, we go into homeopathy, we have to be a good physician and we first assess the pathophysiology of the case. Now, what are the presenting complaints? There is breathlessness, dry cough. Even though it was 2 months old, it is still dry. And there are complaints associated with throat. And there is dust allergy. Now, he did not present me with this complaint, but this was extracted during case taking. And because this is there currently, I'm going to take it as a presenting complaint. Okay. Now, this patient has been diagnosed with bronchitis. Okay. But let us assess his symptoms for a little bit. Okay. He has breathlessness with dry cough. And the wheeze is expiratory. And there has been no inflammation in the beginning or in the middle. Maybe there is some inflammation or some infection, but it is not noted or marked. And there are some environmental factors involved for his complaint. Okay. Now, with taking into consideration all these complaints and this analysis, these symptoms, I very respectfully disagree with the diagnosis of bronchitis and diagnose this patient with bronchial asthma. Okay, do you agree with me? Yes. Okay, perfect. I'm happy then. So then let's look at the pathophysiology of asthma. Now, I'll not go into details about this because this is something that can be very easily found and read. Basically, what happens is that there is an inflammation of airways. The cause is actually a very complex interplay between genetic predisposition and environmental factors for asthma. So then it starts with an inflammation in airways that leads to bronchoconstriction, and that leads to a kind of a vicious circle of hyper-responsiveness of airways and mucus secretion that leads to further difficulty in breathing. Okay, so this is what happens in asthma. And then let's look at the dust allergy, which is in other terms called allergic rhinitis. There is release of inflammatory basically eosinophils get triggered and release inflammatory substances and leading to mucosal swelling, and that leads to nasal blockage. And the cause for this is usually this has been identified as an autoimmune disorder. Okay, so far with me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Now, always at this point in time, I try to just look at the pathophysiology of the presenting complaints and try to assess the ballpark where the dominant miasm is. Okay, now let us take the miasmatic spectrum. And again, I cannot insist this enough. The miasmatic spectrum in real life is anything but linear, anything but single dimensional. But just for simplicity's sake, I represent this as a line. Okay, now let's bring the extremes of the miasmatic spectrum. It starts with acute, it ends with syphilis and Soran psychosis in between. And let's bring our patient here. Now let's look at, just looking at the pathophysiology, where do you think in a ballpark, a range where this patient may fit?
Psychosis.
Psychosis?
Psychosis. Aura psychosis.
Yes, the range is basically very, very big in this patient. And that happens in actually several of the chronic disorders. At this point in time, looking at the pathophysiology, honestly, I was not able to exclude a lot of stuff. I can only say that it is not acute, not syphilis. But anything up in, if anything in the middle is up for grabs. This patient could belong to anywhere between these two. And to understand that, we'll have to look deeper into the patient as an individual. And that's what we will do now. Okay? All right. Now, at first, I thought we will go straight to the sensation method because we have identified sensation and fat level as the most valuable symptoms in this patient. So we would go to the sensation analysis first. But since yesterday, what I have noticed is that there seems to be some confusion and some difficulty in understanding plant kingdom on sensation level. There seems to be quite a lot of confusion. How to identify plant kingdom. So I thought maybe first we can talk about that a little. Shall we discuss that a little? Okay. Now, as we know that a kingdom differentiation always happens on sensation level. Okay. Now, a patient may have, see, a plant patient, an animal patient, a mineral patient, they can all have the same delusion, same emotion, same fat, same name. They can be same. The differentiation only comes on sensation level. Okay. Now, what is the characteristic of plant kingdom on sensation level? How do we identify plant kingdom on sensation level? What is the characteristic?
Ma'am, the sensitivity of patient.
Sensitivity, ma'am.
Very, very good. Brilliant. It is sensitivity, and is there anything else?
The
And
reaction, ma'am.
adaptability. Yes,
Okay.
the adaptability. Okay. Now let's understand this word sensitivity. Now this word, I think this is the reason why there is so much confusion. This word sensitivity is very commonly used in our everyday life also. Okay, and we will talk about that also in a minute. But what is sensitivity on sensation level? Let's first understand sensitivity on sensation level. Okay. Do we recognize this instrument?
Thermometer.
Yeah, it is a thermometer, and just looking at the reading of it, it is even clear that it is a clinical thermometer. We all have one of these in our OPDs, right? Now, is this instrument sensitive to something?
Temperature.
To
Yeah.
heat.
And cold. Any temperature changes, it is sensitive, right? Now, when I say thermometer is sensitive to temperature, does it mean that when the temperature changes in its surroundings, it starts to cry? No. If temperature changes in its surroundings, it gets hurt?
No.
If temperature changes in its surroundings, it can't bear it and runs away?
No.
No.
No. What does it do?
Only when it comes in contact.
Not necessary. Not necessary. Any atmospheric change in temperature, it will, I mean, in its surroundings, whenever there is a change in temperature, it will sense it, right? Yeah.
Will adapt. It will adapt, na?
Yeah, it will change something within itself. It will sense the change and then it will try to change something in itself accordingly. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, so understand this carefully. It is not about the emotion. It is not about the delusion. It is not about in pain, being in pain. It senses and adapts. Okay? Struggle is with sensitivity and adaptability. It may express in the form of emotion. It may express in the form of delusion. It may express in the form of some disease like diabetes, for example. Okay? But the trouble is with sensitivity and adaptability. That is what it is on sensation level. Now, can you see this picture? It is a potted plant. It is actually my potted plant. It is on my table, on my desk. Do you find anything strange in this?
Leafy without stem, I think.
Sorry, please say that again, little bit.
Leafy without stem, I think.
Yeah, it is leafy without stem. That is right. But is that strange though? Is it something that is striking in this picture?
Ma'am,
One-side
leaves
growth.
Its growth is not uniform. It's in different
Exactly.
direction. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it is bent on one side. Why? Because basically I have a window to the left side of my my table on which it is sitting. So that's why basically it senses the sunlight, and that window, sunlight from that window is basically its primary source of sunlight. Okay, so that's why it basically senses the sunlight and bends towards it. Okay. Now what I do, because I, being a human, I don't like it. I like it to be uniform. I like it to be balanced and straight. So every once in, like, I don't know, 1.5, 2 months, I whimsically turn the pot around. And every time I turn the pot around, within a week or two, again, it slowly, I can see it becomes straight and then it becomes bent again towards the window. And I may have done this, I think 5 to 6 times so far since I have got this plant. And I can promise you, every time I turned it around, not a single time did it turn its terminal bud and look at this. Who is this lady who is turning me around and moving me away from sunlight? It did not do that once. Because that is not how a plant is structured. That is not a plant's issue. It doesn't matter for a plant who is doing it. It matters what happened. What has changed? You following me?
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So this is sensitivity on sensation level, and this is something that we need to identify. And like I said, remember the very first example I gave when I started. It is like a beam of white light that we are working with, and when the patient comes to us, he presents us with everything. It seems monochromatic, like we see only one color, and in this case it's just white color, but there are so many different colors and shades that are hidden inside it, and we need to separate it out. And what he is feeling on one particular color, which is on the level 5, is what is important, because that is what differentiates the kingdom. Okay, so it is very important to first allocate the levels. I say this all the time. Allocate the levels of experience of the patient as the first step, because it doesn't matter, even if we are not working on sensation method, allocation of levels helps us analyze the symptoms correctly. For example, if we take a symptom on emotional level, and then we're trying to analyze it on sensation level, that symptom, it might be a very strong symptom on emotional level, but if we analyze it on sensation level, if we take it on sensation level and start analyzing it, thinking that it is the sensation, it gets very diluted. And it's also the same the other way around. We take the patient uses the same words as he would use on mind level. He says something like, my father is not going to be happy. My father, everyone in the village will come if something is wrong. He is using the words which are seemingly on mind level, but there he is actually giving us his sensation. Those words that he used are solidification of what his sensation behind is. So if we take those symptoms and those words and analyze them on emotion level or delusion level, then they become very diluted. Their value becomes very less. I'm not saying it won't work, it might, but it becomes diluted. Okay, are you with me so far? Okay. Now listen to me carefully. Difference between symptom versus and level of experience. This is a very, very important slide, so please pay attention. Now let's say a patient comes to me saying his teeth hurt every time he eats citrus fruit. Can we say that this patient has sensitive teeth?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we? Yeah, this patient has sensitive teeth, right? Okay. Now, do we see people, like say for example, there is a 10-year-old child and every time she sees someone begging on the streets, she is really moved, and then she can't sleep, and then she thinks, okay, maybe next day she takes a shawl and gives it to that beggar on the street. Can we say that this is a sensitive person?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And how many times do we see people, like let's for ease sake of identification or recognition, let's take a lady and everything takes her off, like, you know, everybody walks around her on eggshells, because once those waterworks starts, there is no stopping it. Crying for every small thing. Can we say she is sensitive?
Yes.
Yes. Now let's take another example. Let's say a person has a strong auditory acuity. Okay, they can hear a pin dropping in the corner of the room. Okay. Now, okay, I'll take another example. I used to have this friend in school, and she used to not be able to bear those flickering lights. You know, the lights, those flicker that, you know, in front of function halls and all, they decorate it with those lights. She could not bear it. It would, you know, she could not bear to see it. So every time we had this, we had Ganesh, you know, season of Ganesh festival. In our place, we used to have so many Ganesh murtis and decorations of flickering lights used to happen. So all through that season, she would just really lock herself in her home. Come evening, she would not leave home, because everywhere she would look, there would be flickering lights. Can we say that these people with both auditory acuity and visual acuity are sensitive to light and sound?
Yes.
Yeah. See, sensitivity in different examples. And I think this is the reason why we get confused when it comes to understanding sensitivity on sensation level, especially trying to assess the plant kingdom, right? Okay. Now listen to me carefully. The first example, sensitive teeth. Which level of experience is this?
Physical.
Pain in teeth. Yeah, so which level is that?
Body.
Name, fact. Yeah, so name, fact, emotion, delusion, sensation. Which level will it be? Fact, okay. Now the second example, second and third example, where the child is moved and the lady is crying. Which level is that?
Feeling.
Sorry?
Feeling.
Now third, like, I think, okay. Now the last two examples with not being able to bear the sound and light, which level of experience is that?
Delusion, ma'am. Is it delusion?
Okay. All right. I think you are saying it is delusion because there is involvement
is
of PNEI axis, right? And okay. All right. Now, how did you say this?
because I'm aware of
See,
the
listen to
levels.
me carefully, okay? Yeah. Listen carefully. The levels are the experience of the patient, not of the physician. Now, in all these examples that I gave, did I tell you the experience of the patient in one example?
No.
I only gave you the symptom. Not one place did I say what the patient is experiencing it on, how the patient is experiencing it, right? So this is just a symptom. Now the same symptom, let us take the first example, for example, the sensitive teeth that we have decided, okay? Now let's take this and focus on this, and we can apply this actually to all the other examples I gave. Okay. Now, if the patient comes and says, okay, I have, every time I eat any kind of citrus fruit, I have pain in my teeth. Okay. Now, if he's saying, now we ask him the right question and he says, for me, that is what it is. Every time I expose my teeth to any citrus fruit, I have pain. That is his experience. What level of experience is this?
Fact.
Now, yes. Now this is his experience. Okay. Now he's explaining his experience. The symptom is same, but now we understand his experience and its level. Okay. Now then the patient says, every time I have this pain, I am starting to get into despair. And lately it has been so bad that I'm even contemplating suicide. Now, which level is he experiencing this in?
Feeling.
Emotion level, yes. Yes. Now, the patient then says, every time this happens, the thing is, I don't think we have the time. We have to also do the case, and that's why maybe please
नहीं
also
थोड़ा सा
watch
एक
my
नहीं
other
थोड़ा सा
video.
2 मिनट सिर्फ अगर आप बता देंगी ना कि इस बात को हम नेम कहते हैं, इस बात को फैक्ट कहते हैं, इस बात को इमोशन कहते हैं, तो जो सुन रहे हैं ना वो कोरिलेट कर पाएंगे आपकी बात, भले वो रिपीट हो 2 मिनट में, अगर आप कह
Okay.
पाए तो.
Okay. So basically, we make ourselves interested in 6 of the 7 levels of experience. 7th, we don't usually talk about because it is not at least at this moment, we don't consider it, a tool in therapeutics. Okay. All right.
आप रेट्रो में
Now,
इसी को ले लो, आप ये जो
what?
टूथ पेन है ना, टूथ पेन को ही ले लो और उसी में आपको 6 लेवल्स या तो 5 लेवल्स तक बता दो, तो वो फिर आपकी बात एग्जैक्ट कोर तक समझ पाएंगे.
Gee, I was trying to do that actually. That's why I was giving examples of how on fact level the patient experiences it, and then how on emotion level the patient experiences it. You're following me? You're understanding what I'm saying?
जी जी जी.
So we take the same complaint, and the patient is experiencing it on fact level when he's saying or when he's experiencing as, look, I have this pain every time it is exposed to citrus fruits and nothing more. So for him, he's experiencing it only as a fact. Now another patient, let's say if he's saying, I go into despair every time I have this pain. He's experiencing despair. He's experiencing this problem through despair. Okay, then the level of experience becomes emotional, on emotion level. Okay, with me so far?
मैम ये कहना चाह रही है, अगर पेशेंट टूथ पेन बोलता है तो ये लेवल नंबर 1 होती है, उसको हम नेम बोलते हैं. अगर वो आगे बढ़ता है पेशेंट कि मुझे साइट्रस फूड खाने की वजह से तकलीफ हो रही है, तो वो फैक्ट है उसके लिए कि ये खाने की वजह से बढ़ता है. ये नंबर 2 का एक्सपीरियंस होता है सेंसेशन मेथड से, अगर हम केस स्टडी करते हैं तो. और मैडम ने अभी तीसरी बात कही कि दर्द इतना होता है कि मैं डिस्पेयर में चला जाता हूँ या चली जाती हूँ, वो इमोशन लेवल का नंबर 3 का लेवल होता है पेशेंट का. ऐसा आप समझ लीजिए। तो इसके बाद जो केस मैडम बताने वाली है तो आपको उसमें समझ आएगा कि कैसे एनालिसिस करना है। प्लीज कंटिन्यू करें मैम।
Okay, so listen carefully, okay? All right, we talked about how the same symptom, the symptom of sensitivity of teeth, how is it experienced on fact level, how is it experienced on emotion level. So the patient says, patient basically is experiencing despair every time there is pain. So that is, he is experiencing this problem on emotion level, okay? Now, let's say another patient, the way he is experiencing his problem is, he says, well, this had to happen. It's about time that this happened, because my grandparents had the same problem, parents had the same problem, all my siblings had the same problem, and I am also now having the same problem. Now, which level is he experiencing this on? Delusion level, the same pain, right? Okay. Now listen to me carefully. Now then the patient, what will he do? What does he do? Every time he has pain in his teeth, sensitive teeth, he envelops himself in one ego and he envelops the problem in another ego and experiences it in the form of saying, well, I am completely fine but for this problem. Okay, if this problem was not there, I would have been 100% better. Good. He is making the experience out as me and this problem. What is he experiencing this as?
Sensation.
Yes, he is experiencing this on sensation level as an animal kingdom. Okay. Now let's say the patient, whenever he has this problem, the way he is experiencing it is, he's thinking, okay, is there something wrong with my teeth? Is something secreted is something that should be secreted not secreted? Okay. Now what is he experiencing this problem as?
Sensation level पे है तो it's mineral.
Sensation as a mineral, because
mineral lake or
exactly. He is experiencing exactly. He is experiencing this pain as a lack. So that makes it a mineral kingdom symptom. Okay, differentiation into mineral kingdom. Okay, so all this to basically say, whatever is the same, it could even be the presenting symptom, it could be the first thing the patient comes to us and says, we can use that symptom to take him to sensation level. Okay, because even though it is just talking of pain, the way he is experiencing his pain can give us his sensation. This is called bypass method in sensation analysis. Okay, you can take the patient directly from presenting complaint or from fact level or name level directly to sensation level. Okay, if we ask the right question, the patient gives sensation from any symptom. That is the whole point, that is the whole theory of sensation method. And it so happens that that same thing happened in this patient. Okay. Now, let me read a paragraph where there is a confirmation of the kingdom. Okay. Where does he say this? Yes. Yeah, I said he is trying to it comes at night when I go to bed. It feels like a heavy weight is placed on my chest. I can't breathe. I get very, and this is a word that I didn't understand, and I asked him to explain what that means. And now he inadvertently, when he was trying to explain the meaning of this word, he gave me the sensation. What did he say? I feel heavy and breathless in my chest and turn to one side. It helps very briefly, but then same again. So I turn to the other side, but same again. I finally give up and get up and try to distract myself by watching TV. What is he struggling with? His struggle here is with adaptation. He senses that there is a change in his environment. He is not able to breathe. What is he trying to do? He is trying to adapt. He is failing to adapt. He came to a doctor. Are you following?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
yes,
ma'am.
this patient belonged to plant kingdom. Okay. Now again, we can't. See, plant kingdom. Like I said, it is very paradoxical because I find it very difficult to understand plant kingdom. And again, I think it is because of all these words that we use, and it is very, very easy to get confused. So I find it very hard. And since yesterday, I also saw that many of the doctors. Yeah.
Please. Do you want to say
Yeah.
that adaptation belongs only to plant kingdom?
No. Adaptation on sensation level belongs to plant kingdom. Now, that is the reason why I said, I gave you this example. Restlessness can be there in any kingdom, okay?
It means adaptation without sensing is another kingdom. Without sensing, how can we
Yeah,
adapt?
it could be. Yes.
Every kingdom, without sensing, nobody can adapt. No?
See, that
And no
sensing
sensing, how can he adapt?
and adapting what you're saying, yes. I understand what you're saying. So basically, that sensing and then adapting. Let's say, for example, I put my finger into a burning fire. Okay. Now my hand very quickly senses that there is an increase in temperature, and I quickly remove my hand from there. That is not on sensation level, but I still sensed that and adapted to the situation. But that is not on sensation level. That is on physical level. That is on fact level. There is a difference between
my hand due
reflex.
to heat. If we without sensing, how can remove my hand?
Yes, of course. We have sensed it. We have sensed the heat, and we have removed the hand. Yes, that was we have sensed it and we have adapted. But we didn't do that on sensation level. That is the difference of what I'm trying to say. In this whole slide of giving the example of this tooth, the symptom may be the same. We may be seeing that, for example, in this patient, restlessness can be seen in any kingdom. Restlessness can be an animal kingdom, restlessness can be a plant kingdom, yes, in mineral, nosode, sarcode, imponderable. But how the patient is experiencing this restlessness differentiates the symptom, differentiates the kingdom. If the same restlessness, the patient is experiencing it as, again, I'm giving you an example. Let's say he is saying this he is looking at this restlessness as something completely different to himself and says, well, this restlessness is not, I'm completely fine without this restlessness. Only if this restlessness was not there, I would have been 100% fine. That is, I'm enveloping myself in one ego and I'm enveloping the rest of the problem in a different ego. That is me versus you. Then I'm experiencing this restlessness as an animal kingdom person.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Are you following me?
Yes, very good.
Complicated.
Yes. So do not
be very difficult to understand.
Sorry?
Very complicated.
I am not
Sir,
saying.
let her finish
No,
first.
it is not
Let
easy.
her finish first.
No, it is very difficult. I am telling you, it is not an easy thing to understand. I always say the sensation and levels of experience is a paradigm shift in our understanding. I completely am with you. It took a very long time for me, and my teacher in sensation method, Shashikant sir, he also says that it took very long time for him also to understand this. So, I mean, I'm with you. It's not easy, but trust me, it makes sense. There is logic behind it. We just need to shift our paradigm a little bit and it all becomes clearer. All right? Shall we move on?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, yes, we have determined the kingdom to be the plant kingdom. Now let's move on to further analysis. Let's see what are all this. I also wanted to say one thing else is that this patient was determined to be plant kingdom not only based on this one thing. There are other things also. Plant kingdom is not, like I said, I personally find it very confusing to identify plant kingdom. However, it is very ironical that plant kingdom gives very simple sensations. even then it becomes difficult to identify because, because of all these things that I just discussed. Now, this patient gave very simple sensations. He gave them the sensation of being stuck, narrow, expansion, and he gave that everywhere. And that is a characteristic of plant kingdom. And also, I'm not saying it is only plant kingdom, but most of the plant kingdom is affected by environment, changes in environment. It happens in other kingdoms also, but when you see this in association with other characteristics of plant kingdom, then you get more confirmed. All right, so now let us determine the other sensations given by the patient. Okay, now let me list them. He said narrow, stopped flow, stuck. And he said home, security, stability, and change. Now let me say how we assess, because we already talked about sensation, and for a doctor, for a homeopath, it is actually not that easy to also extract this sensation. Okay, but there are techniques. There are very, very good techniques. Some we have borrowed from psychology, psychiatry, and we very successfully use them in our case taking. Okay, now one very good method to capture sensation is when it comes with an energy burst. Okay, because anything that happens on sensation level is non-human. And to capture any human thing is easy to capture it in words. But when it is coming to capture a non-human thing by a human, words are not enough. He moves with that energy, what he's trying to say. He changes his body. He makes something with his hands, something, everything. That is the burst of energy. And we call it all hand gestures. Now, he used hand gesture to indicate this level. When he talked about his bronchi narrowing, yes, he was talking about a physical symptom, but remember how he's experiencing it. It is coming with a hand gesture. It is his sensation, how he's experiencing this symptom. Okay, now he did not exactly do a hand gesture for the word stuck, but what he said is that there is mucus that is being secreted there and it is accumulating in the walls. Okay, actually for being stuck, he did another thing called projection. Okay, now this thing was missed by many people. Dr. Hussain caught this very, very clearly. See what happens, like I said before, the patient uses the words that we think are on mind level, we think are on delusion and an emotion level. But then what he is doing exactly here is that he is projecting himself. That is the reason why I did not show this patient any picture, because I got what I wanted. He was projecting himself already. Everything he was saying about his father, his home, his village, his security, the whole village comes and talks and gives, what they need, comes in need, everything. That is his own sensation. And also similarly, what he was talking about the girls, they all think about me, myself, my career, me. That is also he is projecting himself. Now think about it. Is he also not stuck? A lot of doctors identified this as fixed ideas. And that is right. He was having fixed ideas. The only thing is, if we take this on mind level, it gets diluted. This fixed ideas, where is it coming from? It is coming from this his sensation, where he is mentally stuck. He does not want to move. He does not want to move on. He does not want to move forward. And that is the sensation. Okay. So now let's classify. Kingdom, we know, plant. Now then, subkingdom, home, comfort, averse to change. All these come under column 4. And column 4 in plant kingdom is Dilenidae. Okay? Now within Dilenidae, there is the sensation of obstruction or flow, and that is covered by order caparales. And within caparales, the stuckness of mentally and physically. Again, where did he say? He's talked about this for the girls, but it is his own sensation. He is the one who is stuck basically. This is covered by brassicaceae or cruciferae. Okay? So far so good?
Very good.
Now this is kind of a chart. Basically, this is a chart. So if you don't have the chart, this may not sound familiar, but what happened is that our masters, our teachers isolated sensations of various, within plant kingdom, what are all the sub-kingdoms and what would be in general the sensation of that sub-kingdom, and within that sub-kingdom what would be in general the sensation of an order, of a family. As much in detail as possible they have identified it and gave us to apply. Okay, so this is kind of a chart that we can use.
कौन सा चार्ट
Okay?
अभी आपने शेयर किया है क्या?
नहीं, this chart, it will be, I mean, I have it in my notes, but I made these notes from many places. So if you want, I can share that. I have a lot of notes in there, but I can share this. But Dr. Deepthi found this. I think she found this in plant sensations in pictures, right? Exactly. In there, sometimes the sensation on family level is given, and sometimes sensation on order level is given. So that is very good book to have. And then also the Linidae, home comfort, hours to change everything, that you can equate it to superclass subclass level. So this column 4 is equal to row 4 in mineral kingdom. Okay. Now from here, we need to now come back to the miasm. Okay. All right. What did we already assess? That the patient was not much really. We were not able to eliminate a lot. Okay. Now in this method, there are many ways. It's just like how I say, as we go up higher in levels, even delusion level, there are so many ways to understand it. The understanding becomes much more subliminal, and it is more something that we need to grasp than we understand in words. Okay. Now, in the same way, when we try to understand miasm, there are many ways of understanding the miasm. And today I will explain one small way of understanding this. Now, when we try to assess miasm, especially in sensation method, we first look at the reaction of the patient. And then we look at my technique is also combine it with the level of acceptance of the patient. Okay. Now, I'll tell you one example. My grandmother, she was diagnosed with asthma, I think when she was 9 years old. When she was very young, she was diagnosed with asthma. And ever since I was born, I never saw my grandmother without 2 inhalers on her. It was always there on her person. She came, as far as I'm concerned, she came with 2 ears, she came with 2 inhalers. It was inseparable part of her body. For her, this is her normalcy. That is the level of acceptance in her. Okay, then she would definitely be beyond psychosis. Okay, now tell me, what is the level of acceptance for this patient? How is he reacting to this problem? Has he accepted this as his new normal?
No, he has not
No,
accepted.
he has not accepted it. No, in his mind, this is a crisis that he needs to. This is a ripple in his otherwise still waters of health. This is something that has come. It is not his normal. Okay, so then we say it is before psychosis. And please try to understand, I'm only saying this for this patient. Okay, we will not go into details, but apply what I'm saying now only to this patient, please. Because level of acceptance on another patient could be something else and the miasm could be something else. And we can discuss it when we take another example, but for this patient, this is what it is. So then let's make it whatever are the miasms in between acute and psychosis. We have typhoid, we have malaria, we have ringworm. We have sora, of course, and then we have ringworm. Now, given the fact that this patient is saying the attack is coming and going, like it is not a continuous attack. It is coming at night, it is going during the day, it is coming at night and going during the day. What miasm may this be?
Ringworm.
Why? See, try to understand periodicity does not determine the miasm. His reaction to the problem, it could be a periodic disease, it could be a periodic manifestation, but is he reacting to this as a single crisis or a different crisis each time? He is reacting to it as a single crisis, right? It may come again and again, but it is all the one thing that is one, it is one ripple in his life, in his world that he needs to now combat.
No, ma'am. Will you please repeat, ma'am? Not getting this.
Okay. Let's say a patient comes and his manifestation or his symptoms repeat themselves. And disease diagnosis for that is malaria. Okay. Now this name malaria has been taken to represent this. Like when in malaria, let's say, you have chills, fever and sweat. Okay. Then you don't know if there will be one other episode of chills, fever and sweat will come. You never know in malaria. You never know if it is the end or if there is another episode. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the concept we are trying to capture. In malarial miasm, we look at it, the patient looks at it as different crisis. It is or the same, it could be the same crisis, but it is happening again and again and again.
Miasm, yeah.
But yeah, in typhoid miasm, the whole thing is a single crisis. That is what happens in typhoid, right? That's why they use that word typhoid. Now, the manifestation, the symptom in that problem could be that it is coming again and again, but the reaction of the patient, he is looking at it as a single crisis. He's not saying that, okay, my asthma comes and my asthma goes, or he's not reacting to it as if it is coming and going. For him, this whole thing is a single thing. Even though it is coming and going, for him, it is a disease or it is a problem, it is an issue, which is one crisis that he has in his life. Okay, what you do is please read the case again and please listen to my explanation again. And I'm hoping you will follow it better. So yes, this patient belonged to typhoid miasm. Okay? And the representative remedy in brassicaceae or cruciferae in typhoid miasm is Sinapis nigra. Okay, I know there was probably some confusion about the miasm, but honestly, I don't think we can afford spending more time on thing because we still have a lot more to do in the case. Okay, so let's move on. Please listen to the explanation again. Please read your notes and see if it makes sense. If not, we can take up this discussion again. Okay, very good. Now let's do fact level. Now we said that we had very, very strong symptoms both on sensation level and on fact level. Now once we have assessed the miasm in this patient, that level of analysis comes to a violent stop. Why? Because we don't have any rubrical analysis in this patient. I was not able to extract any source rubric. So I will not do it. This was a very short case. So I'm not going to do any rubrical analysis there. So I will move on to the fact level analysis where also I have very good, strong, valuable symptoms. Okay. Now this level when I analyze, now any level, most important for me is to follow aphorism 153, which says, go look for the peculiar and most PQRS symptoms in the patient. Those will become most valuable. Okay. Now let us see what are all the level. Why do I say that level? The symptoms that he gave here are of more value. Firstly, the patient said throat issues were associated with breathlessness. Now this to me is of very high value because this is a peculiar symptom. Okay. Now the second thing he said is he has burning in his throat, but it is subjective. Okay, it is not objective, we can't see it, but it is subjective burning in throat. Now this is also peculiar for me. Third thing is that his wheeze is very, very loud. Now his father is 2 rooms away from him, but he can still hear his wheeze. So that loud that wheeze is. So clearly this is peculiar for me. Okay. And the fourth thing, damp weather aggravates, and this is not exactly peculiar, but this is directly correlatable. So it becomes valuable for me. Okay, anything that is very directly correlated becomes very strong valuable, because this fix the miasm. This is how the disease starts. Okay. All right. So sometimes it is actually a nice thing to take a step backwards and analyze that analysis, right? So what do we have here? We have throat with breathlessness, so that's a concomitant. We have subjective burning throat, that's a local sensation. We have expiratory wheeze, that is a objective sensation, objective observation. And then we have damp weather aggravation, that is a modality. So we have in this patient every potential of having a complete symptom as described by Boenninghausen, right? This is what I mean. We need to let the room decide the solution. This is what we have in this patient. So then we go for what Boenninghausen gave us. Now I know very popularly we call now the complete symptom of Boenninghausen to be LSMC, the location sensation modality concomitant, but originally it was called loco-moco. It's very similar to LSMC. It is location, condition, modality, and concomitant. Very similar. Only thing is that condition is divided into subjective and objective. Subjective condition is basically how the patient is feeling or what is the sensation of patient subjectively, and objective condition is how the physician is looking at it or the onlooker is looking at it. Okay, so then let's take this complete symptom and repertorize. So what I did, I took throat, pain, burning, smarting, and with concomitant of respiration. If I just take throat, pain, burning, smarting, I wouldn't call this particularly of great value or peculiar. It would not be peculiar unless I take respiration as concomitant. Noisy expiration is a very strong valuable symptom here. Now, because I'm trying to get to the complete symptom, I took subjective condition with chest oppression and asthmatic respiration with damp weather aggravation. And then I have Sinapis nigra as the third hit. All right, shall I skip this slide? I wanted to, this is a very good example for Fartex separately, but I think it is already very late. So I will skip this slide. Now let's go straight to materia medica. Now, basically our sensation level analysis and our fact level analysis, they both were indicating to Sinapis nigra, but that never ends. Our analysis never ends only with repertory. It starts with philosophy, continues with repertory, finishes with materia medica, always the three-legged stool. Okay, so then because it is a smaller remedy, my go-to materia medica for these kind of remedies is boric, and here boric gives very clearly throat, feels scalded, hot, inflamed, asthmatic breathing, loud coughing spells with barking expiration. Okay, now there is an art of reading any materia medica book. Okay, there is also a code to reading any materia medica book. We actually read, we actually can use boric materia medica for two purposes. One purpose is as a reference book. Second purpose is as a prescriptive book. Okay. Now, I'll give you we will not go into details or in very, great explanation here, but if you want to make prescription out of boric's materia medica, simply use connectors. Boric doesn't use connectors. He assumes that we use it. Okay, boric does not do what Kent does. So we can't read boric like we read Kent. Okay, now look at this. throat, it feels scalded, hot, inflamed. That in itself is not a prescribing symptom. How many remedies we see where the throat feels scalded, hot and inflamed? Asthmatic breathing, not peculiar at all. And loud coughing spells with barking expiration, not peculiar also, not particularly for this remedy. But add connectors and see the magic happen. Feels scalded, hot, inflamed, and asthmatic breathing, and loud coughing spells with barking expiration, and it becomes your prescribing. It becomes very individualistic. Okay. Then it was bothering me that Borik did not mention the weather aggravation, because for me this was a very strong indication in this patient. So as usual, Herring came to rescue. He gave me exactly what I wanted to see. That he said damp weather, attacks of oppressed breathing, aggravation. So this was good enough for me. So then I prescribed Sinapis nigra. Started with Q3. The patient is currently on Q6. Okay. Now I'll give you the follow-up. Cough completely disappeared by the morning of day 3. Okay, it went like in like almost, I don't know, 70% the night within first night, almost 80% the next one, and by the time he woke up the third morning, it was completely gone. And the breathing problem almost followed this. Okay, completely disappeared. Has not appeared yet. After that day 3, it has not reappeared. Okay. Now, allergic rhinitis, I think 2 months into the treatment, the patient said that he was feeling better. Also, the allergic rhinitis was also feeling better. Something happened. He was exposed to dust again. He did not feel it as much as he was feeling it before. Okay. But these ones, like, this is autoimmune. So this needs time. Now, mind, now in, I think, end of 4th month, that was the first time he said, maybe I need to also see if I should be flexible. Maybe it is not all I see. Of course, they studied well, and of course, they want a career, and of course, they want to settle in a city. So he's starting now to see the other person's point of view. So his stuckness has become diluted. This is what we say, the sensation has become diluted. Okay? With me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now, before I go and before I let you go, a couple of words to Vice. Okay? First thing, everything I discussed about the philosophy part today was not something that I learned from any one teacher or something that I have read from any one book. Okay? It is accumulation of knowledge and experience from many places and many teachers. And what does that mean? It means that any mistake is mine and mine alone. Now, what I would request you to do is to please take that understanding and read Organon again. Please read Organon again with this understanding. Don't read the explanation by anyone first. You can go to that later, but read Organon original. If possible, read Organon der Heilkunst, translate it and read it. Nowadays, we have very strong and very accurate translators. But if you don't want to do that, if there is not enough time to do that, that's okay. But read the already translated versions of Organon with this understanding and see if it makes sense to you. And if it does, then please apply it in your analysis. Okay? And if you can give me feedback, if it makes sense to you, it would be nice to know. Okay? Now the second thing is, look, language is a very funny thing. I mean, it's a very curiously interesting thing. And the same word can mean many things. We saw that today in the example of the word sensitivity. We saw that with the word sensation itself, where Dr. Shankaran uses it in a different way to grasp something completely different to how Dr. Boenninghausen uses it when he's talking about localized sensation, right? So before, I mean, before trying to just assume that something means this, please try to understand what the person or what the doctor, what the teacher is actually trying to capture here by using that word. Okay, because it could be meaning completely different. Like the word sensitivity, it could be meaning something completely different than being emotional. Okay, but although we use this word sensitivity to describe mostly emotional people. All right, we need to see beyond words, not just in sensation method, but in whole homeopathy. We need to see beyond words. We need to understand where this patient is coming from. We need to grasp. He might be using a wrong word even, but we need to grasp his experience of what he's trying to say. Okay, are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that finishes my presentation today. Thank you for staying with me, but I want to just take 1 more minute to give my dedications. Firstly, I want to dedicate this presentation to my childhood friend and now colleague, Dr. Lata. Lata has been, I can say that all through my years of homeopathic ups and downs, she has been one person. I can say she has been the only person who has never stopped believing in me. Lata, I deeply cherish your friendship. Secondly, thank you to all you doctors. I know I can see the time. I really tried to speed it up, but your patience and your curiosity was really amazing. You never got, I hope you did not get. Okay. All right. Okay. So thank you to all you doctors. I really mean it. It was a real pleasure and it was a real honor presenting to you all people. And thirdly, and it is not the least, it is last but not the least, deep gratitude to Dr. Boenninghausen, who almost made some of the cases mathematical and so replicable, the analysis and the curative techniques. And always deep gratitude to my teacher in sensation method, Dr. Shashikant Shinde. And very, very special thank you to Dr. Hussain Mulani for making all this happen from behind the scenes even. Okay. So now finally time for questions. If you have any questions and if we have time, I have time, but if there is enough time, I'm willing to take questions. If not, please send it in the group. But if you do send it in the group, please tag me so that I will not miss it.
Remember which for the organon, the last one you said, which organon we should read?
6th edition is the best one.
So does it matter written by who? I thought that you said that it's been translated by a lot different people and lastly.
Yes, there are two very popular translations. Either is fine. I don't have any objection. The best would be actually to go to Organon der Heilkunst, written by Dr. Hahnemann himself. I have actually the original manuscript of Dr. Hahnemann, what he wrote with his hand, his 6th edition of Organon. And sometimes when it confuses me, I actually go to that one to check if he actually really did write this or not. Because, you know, we really need to sometimes go to the core to understand everything. If you can't go to Organon der Heilkunst, that is also available in Internet Archive libraries. If you want, I can share the version with you also. You can take that and put it into our translators now. They are very, very nice and very close the way they translate it. So I can personally assure you that they are very good because in my process of getting myself qualified here in this country, I had to learn German to a certain level. And I can say that these translators are doing really good job. So if you can do it, please do it. But if not, as a first step, if you want to read an already translated version, that is also fine. But please understand, translated versions are frozen. The words that had the meaning 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a specific meaning now has changed because everything, the geographical, there have been changes in the geography, there have been changes in culture, moral. Just the word, let's take the word corona. Pre-COVID times, it meant something majestic and royal, and later it inspires fear, right? So these things change, but the words don't change if you are using frozen translated versions. But that is still fine. You can start with that. First read Organon and then only go to any lectures on Organon. This is my suggestion to you.
और किसी का कोई सवाल, क्वेश्चंस रिगार्डिंग केस, रिगार्डिंग प्रेजेंटेशन?
The philosophy part, the repertory part, the materia medica part.
निशब्द है सब कुछ, कोई
माइंड
कुछ
ब्लैंक
कहना नहीं
भैया,
चाह रहे?
माइंड ब्लैंक भैया,
यस यस
होश
यस,
उड़
इसीलिए
होश उड़
She is too good always.
यस यस यस।
Oh, thank you.
चमत्कार ये
Thank
2
you.
महीने में एक बार होता है, 3 महीने में एक बार होता है। आप अगर सुनना चाहते हैं, आप सभी HSH फैमिली मेंबर्स को रिक्वेस्ट है, आप रिक्वेस्ट करें, मुझे करें, अशोक सर को करें, आपकी रिक्वेस्ट आगे फॉरवर्ड की जाएगी। अगर ऐसे स्पीकर से आप सुनना चाहते हैं, देर तक सुनना चाहते हैं, तो स्पीकर से बात करें, कोई इश्यू नहीं है। आपको
Sorry,
अच्छा
I
लगा
mean,
होगा,
because I
उम्मीद करता हूँ
really
सभी
try
लोग।
to make it quicker, but there is so much. It is like, this is such a vast science. You try to make it as quick and as concise as possible, but it is just sometimes.
कोई बात नहीं, कोई प्यासा नहीं रहेगा, समंदर है, कोई जाम भर के ले जाएगा, अपनी एक दिन की प्यास बुझाएगा, फिर आएगा, प्यासा हो जाएगा, आपको बुला लेंगे, नो टेंशन। थैंक यू सो मच ऑल रिस्पेक्टेड डॉक्टर्स, थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
ma'am.
so much. Thank you.
अशोक
Thank you. बहुत
अशोक सर ने खास धन्यवाद किसको कहा है?
गुड नाइट।
It
अशोक
is not
सर,
needed, sir. It is not
अशोक
needed.
सर ट्रैवलिंग में, सुनिए, अशोक सर ट्रैवलिंग में है, उन्होंने खास धन्यवाद कहा है आपको, उनके तरफ से मैं धन्यवाद कह रहा हूँ आपको। थैंक यू सो मच, और हमारे एडमिन टीम की तरफ से,
Thank you.
HSC की तरफ से थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन।